4A.515.
Senator Rivers.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate you trying to control the metabolism around this issue. I do not know of one. President, I move adoption of Amendment 0378.
Senator Rivers moves adoption of Amendment number 0378. Remarks, Senator Rivers.
Okay. Remember what I said just a minute ago, because I'm not going to repeat it. Mr. President, I think this issue is very meaningful to me because I'm a former educator. And I used to, when I was in my classroom, I would think about what I was going to do to keep my kids safe in the event that we should have an exterior force acting upon the school and threatening the lives of the children and the adults. So I care deeply. I don't know of one of my colleagues who doesn't share the deep concern for keeping kids safe. I think there's also significant concern about people being willing or being able to protect themselves. So we've taken significant actions, and I feel compelled to remind the body that we've passed 2 bills in 2023, and we passed 2 bills in a very bipartisan way in 2019. So there's definitely a willingness to really sort through this. I was very, very grateful to my dear friend from the 48th for mentioning the federal act that did expire in 2004. Because what this bill fails to do is what that bill did in spades. That bill took both sides of the equation because it looked not only at weapons, it also looked at penalties for misuse, the enhanced death penalty, the prohibition of firearm sales to persons with domestic violence convictions, and several other things. So it's very concerning to me that we're only picking up one side of the equation, the gun side. And what we're doing with that is we're penalizing those individuals who are law-abiding citizens. At the very same time, we'll be hearing the bill that was referred to earlier, probably, maybe on Monday or so, that diminishes enhancements. You can wrap that any way you'd like, but the fact of the matter is this: it's a reduced sentence, one way or the other. So it seems to me that we're doing lots of things right in Washington State to protect our kids, to protect our citizens. But some of it we're getting wrong. You might remember a House bill that pertains to diminishing the penalties for drive-by shootings, Mr. President. I don't know. I don't think that's keeping communities safe. I don't care who does it. So what this amendment does is it sends such a strong message to those who have or would be willing to harm individuals with guns that this state will not tolerate that. And you will pay. And you will pay and pay and pay with your time, Mr. President. We have to send a message. It's not just the weapon, it's what the person does with the weapon. And if they have obtained it illegally, which I think when I started to run this bill in maybe 2017 or 18, we were still working with President Obama's Justice Department, who reported that 96% of these crimes are committed with stolen guns. This is something we can do to balance the equation, to protect people's rights and to subsequently or consequently remove the rights of people who do not value them, who abuse them, because here's what we know for sure, Mr. President. It's an old saw, but it is as true today as the first day that I heard it. When outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. And those outlaws are already harming our children and harming the rest of society. So I urge you to vote yes on this bill to send a message to people who steal a gun and use it to harm others that that is not going to be accepted in our state, Mr. President. Thank you.
Further remarks, Senator Dhingre.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm standing up and asking for no vote on this amendment because the good legislature in 1983 had the same great idea. And I will say, I think the way they wrote that statute, they actually got it right because it is so much easier to enforce than what is proposed in the amendment before us. The deadly weapon special verdict that we currently have in our state basically says at any time when someone is armed with a deadly weapon at the time of a commission of the crime. So under current law, you just have to be armed with a deadly weapon. The amendment in front of us, if I may read from the amendment, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
It actually requires, it says commission of a felony, which is similar, discharge of a stolen weapon or menace or threaten with a stolen assault weapon. And I'll just say as a prosecutor, I'll rather have a statute that says armed with a deadly weapon, so I don't have to necessarily prove whether there was discharge or it was used in a menacing or threatening manner. Now, the legislature, after 1983, decided they wanted to do some more, and so we're back again to 1985, where we spoke about the other theft statute, and they had another statute called possession of a stolen firearm. And this, again, is part of the amendment we have before us, but it is a separate statute. And the beauty of having them as two separate ones is because you don't have to have one incident where you have a stolen firearm and have to be in a commission of a crime and use it in a threatening or menacing way. You actually have the ability to charge them separately or together. And so our current statute is written very well. It has withstood time and can be used to actually hold people accountable even if they are caught prior to committing the crime, simply because they have a stolen firearm in their possession. So our current law more than aptly gets to what Senator Rivers is getting to, and does that, unfortunately, in a much more elegant way. And so I'm going to ask for a no vote for this amendment, which makes it actually a lot more complicated to hold people accountable. Thank you.
Further remarks, Senator Rivers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, many of the laws that we have passed out of this body and the way that they're being carried out by the Sentencing Review Commission is setting these people free. I had the sad duty of seeing a video of one of the released individuals commit murder right in front of a grade school, while the gentleman's child looked on. So what good are all the laws in the world unless we do something to keep the perpetrators locked up? Thank you, Mr. President.
There are no further remarks. The question before the Senate is adoption of amendment number 0378. As many are in favor, will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Noes appear to have it. Division's been called for. All those in favor, please stand and remain standing. The Those opposed, please stand and remain standing. The noes have it. The amendment is not adopted.